Welcome. Today we're going to take a look at exercise 2 in SolidWorks 2021. As you can see here, this is our goal to create that model. We're not going to create quite that detailed, but we're going to get pretty close. And what it is, it's using the Revolve feature, but inside the Revolve feature, we're going to look at the sketch. We're going to do some mirroring, both feature mirroring, which is 3D, and as well as 2D sketch mirroring. So let's begin. Go to File, New, and I have the ANSI A inch set up. You could use part, or if you are set to novice, just use part. Either one is fine. The ANSI A inch, again, because I'm here in the United States, that's the one I end up using here. And apparently I must have saved my template with the part in it, so I'm just going to go to File, New, and just select part there and hit OK. All right, you'll see I have front, top, and right planes. We're going to first go to the little gear up at the top here and make sure we go to Document Properties. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first how to set up and save a template, specifically with our settings. So let's go to the Drafting Center, make sure it's set to ANSI, and go to Units, and make sure it's IPS, and set it to 3 decimal places. All right, now just to be on the safe side, I think I'm going to just make sure, because it seems as though something strange is happening here. If you have a look here under ANSI, you'll see that there's Ghost, DIN, ISO, which you could switch between pretty easily. And I'm not going to show you exactly the differences between those. You could actually tinker with those if you like. But then, let's just make sure I set that back. And we look good. Hit OK. Now this is how to save a template. Go to File, Save As. Now this is a part template. You could do the same with parts, assemblies, and drawings. And right down here where it says SolidWorks Part, make sure you go to, you want to find, there it is. Let's see. We want to find Part Template. So right here, PRTDOT, that's a native SolidWorks template, and it will take you to the templates folder here. We could remove or copy over an old one, so if you like, you could type in ANSI A inch, and so that way you'll have the same thing. And go ahead and hit Save, and I'll hit Yes. Now, what we want to do to make sure we don't make that as a part file every time, like what you saw earlier where I had the exercise 1 part up, just make sure you do this to be on the safe side. Do it File, Save As, and we're going to go to Desktop. Make sure it's set to Part, and we're going to name this E2 for Exercise 2. And that way, just for kicks, let me show you now. If we went to New Part, our ANSI inch should be in there. When we click on it, the preview should be blank. We shouldn't see our model like I did earlier. If you rewind, you can see what had happened with that. Okay, let's go, and if you go to the vertanu1.com and then instructional manuals and basics, SolidWorks Basics, you'll be able to pull up this document and scroll down to page 28. And our goal is to make this wheel that you see here, and here's a cross section of the wheel. So it's using the Revolve feature, and there's some tidbits of advice down there that you could read on your own. But here's the instructions, what we're going to create. And I'm going to zoom up a little bit and see this sketch. That's what we're going to end up making. There's all the dimensions for it. And we're going to start by drawing 1/2 of it like here with a vertical and horizontal center line locked into the origin. We're going to mirror it across and create our model. So let's go select the front plane, start a sketch, go to the little arrow to the right of line. And now if you did Lab 1B, we used the Centerline Tool. I showed that to you briefly. So this is a review for those of you who have done that. If you haven't done the lab yet, it's new to you today. So go to Centerline. Now hover just directly above the origin. You'll get the line of inference. It's a little dashed line. Go ahead and click, and then connect to the origin when you get the orange dot. Click again, drag to the left, make it about 5 inches or so. And then to end the line chain, there's a couple things you could do. If you want to just get out of the Centerline tool, you could hit escape on your keyboard, or you could double click, and that's the left mouse button that you're clicking on, and that will end the line chain, or you could right click and select end chain. But I'm going to hit escape. I just wanted to show those tools to you. Now hit the little arrow to the right of line, click on line. You no longer want Centerline now. Glide over this edge just to the left of your pointer. Now you do get some feedback down here. You can see we want it roughly about a ½ inch or so. 0.4-ish is good. Make sure you're on it. Get the little yellow square to the right of your pointer with a point on it, which indicates that you're on it. Click. Drag this straight up about an inch or so. Click. Drag to the left about 0.4-ish. Click. Drag, and we're going to draw at a slight angle like you see here, like a wing on an airplane. And don't connect it to the center line. Just get it directly above it like I have it. Click again. Drag to the left about an inch. Click. Drag it up about an inch or so, maybe a little bit higher. Click. Drag to the left about 1/4 inch, so 0.25-ish. And then straight down and connect to the center line. Click. Now hit escape. Now you can see those are the relations that we have there. Like if we wanted to get rid of one like this one, we could click on the vertical and hit delete on our keyboard. But now this happens, and we don't want that. So I'm going to hit Control-Z and Control-Z again till I get that back. I could re-add it by clicking, and then the quick launch gives me make vertical as an option, so you can do that as well. All right, now that we have the geometry, we're going to go ahead and mirror this across. So to do that, just simply click and drag across from here. Make sure that that vertical center line is not completely in your envelope that you're creating right now. See how I have like a little gap there? That way, when you go from left to right, it only picks what's inside the envelope. Anything that's sticking out of it isn't part of the selection. So once you have that selected, let's go now to mirror entities. You can also control select if you hold control and click on each individual one if that's too much for you. Okay, that's how we mirror. We just select what we want, and then we select a center line to mirror across it. In this case, it was part of our envelope, and it was inside the selection, that horizontal center line right here, because it was completely in that, like when I did this, completely in it. Now notice this didn't get picked. Now if I go from right to left, we get the opposite effect. Well, not exactly opposite, but it picks everything, even things that aren't completely in the envelope. All right, now it might not be a bad idea to get rid of some of these. We're getting to the point where we're getting pretty advanced here. We don't need to see all these green squares. So if you want to turn them off, it's up to you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go View, Hide, Show, and what we're looking for are sketch relations. And this will remember it on this computer if you keep reusing it. And it won't turn them on again until you do. But the nice thing about it, if you need to see them, you just click on a line, and any relations that are related to that will show up automatically. So click off of that or hit escape. Now we're going to add the dimensions. So let's go to Smart Dimension. Now let's click on this vertical center line to this left edge. Now notice if I keep it inside this little area here, it gives me the exact spacing, but here's an interesting phenomenon inside SolidWorks. Move it to the right of the center line, and now it gives me what would be a diameter. It's almost a preview dimension of what that hole diameter is going to be. So it's very useful in this case because that is a hole. So click to the right and click. And let's see if we look at a training guide here. That's going to be 0.75. So click in there, 0.75, and hit enter. And everything should get scaled for us. And we're going to make our way from the inside out of the wheel. So go ahead and click on this. Now be careful not to get that midpoint, just so the line turns orange. Stay away from the points. Click. Now this is a neat tool. I didn't used to like it. I kind of dig it now. But basically it remembered our last selection, and that way it's actually giving us an angle, which we don't want, but just hit escape on the keyboard one time, just once, and it will remove that earlier selection. And now we could just click over here and make that 0.4. All right, now here's how to do an angle dimension. Select the angled line, stay away from points, and then select a line you want to show the angle related to. So this vertical line to the right, click. Now make sure you get the dimension between the two lines and click and type in 18. Now go ahead and select these two lines here and here. Drag this to the left and let's type in 0.25. Now go ahead and select this point here. It's very rare I ask you to select a point because I believe in saving time usually, but in this case we need it. And then select the center line, and we don't want this 1 inch. Remember, if we move to the right, we get the diameter. Now go ahead and click and make that 2, hit enter. Now while that dimension is still highlighted in blue, it was selected, take a look over on the left here. Now on the left we have the ability to add tolerances, like if we want a basic bilateral limits, min-max fit, you could put this information in or not, how many units precision you want. You could also, down here, you could put in notes. And what we're looking for is the quick little library that's below at the bottom, diameter. Select that and hit the green check. Now it's interesting, somehow I managed to delete, or I never achieved getting that line vertical there. Yours probably didn't do this. So to fix that, all I have to do, watch this, click, and right there, make horizontal. And there it is. Okay, now let's go to Smart Dimension. Click on this line right up here, stay away from the points, drag it straight up, click 0.25, click on this line right here. This is going to be 2, and we're almost done. Now select this line again, and in theory we didn't have to do that because it remembers the last line selection, but I forgot about that. Go ahead and select this center line, and now drag it to the right of the center line, and click and make that 5. And let's go ahead, just as a reminder, go ahead and select the diameter symbol, and that will add it in. If we want, we could add it here too. Now, what's the point of doing this, you might ask? Like, you know, it's a 2D sketch, it's a preview, do we need to do this? And no, you don't need to do it. But if you, some companies have people who do detailing, sometimes the designers themselves do the detailing, that's when you make a 2D layout and drawing. And this is just a courtesy to add that little diameter symbol. Now it's interesting, they added the diameter symbol behind this. So I'm not sure if that's a glitch or if maybe that's an ANSI standard. Never tried that before. Anyhow, I think that might be a glitch, but I might be wrong. Now we're ready to go ahead and revolve this. Now to revolve it, hit escape, and you have to pick, when there's multiple center lines, you have to pick the center line you want to spin it around. So we want the vertical center line. That's our spin center. And go ahead and pre-select it, go to Features, and now go to Revolve Boss Base. And it should spin around that center line. Now, does it have to be a center line to spin around? No, it could have actually been a solid line. We might have had some problems though with SolidWorks because we would have had to go through some additional selections to ensure that it picked the proper boundary conditions. But there we go. So click off of it. Now hit F as in fit for zoom to fit on your keyboard to center that. Now we're going to go to the Fillet tool and add some fillets. Go to Fillet. And I've talked a little bit about this before, but SolidWorks is kind of in a rare boat here. There's only a couple CAD systems that I've seen do this, and the ability to put fillets on a face, and it's such a time saver. Let's make sure fillet is selected. Let's set this, keep it to 0.1, click right on this surface. Now notice the symbol to the right is a square. That's the surface symbol. If you get an edge, you get a vertical line, and you see the edge highlights orange too. You could do that if you like, but I like saving time, so I'm going to click right there. Now I'm going to rotate with my wheel. Remember the middle wheel, if you push it down and hold it and then move your mouse up or forward, you could see the underside. Now go ahead and select this face here, and let's bring her back down, and let's go ahead and select this face here, and I should have left it on the other side. I forgot, but go ahead and select that face down there too, and hit the green check. Alright, so faces are very nice. They just fill out the entire topology, which that's explained in exercise 1. Now let's go to the Fillet tool again, and let's add a larger fillet. Now you can integrate different sizes fillets inside one fillet feature. However, I'm not showing you that just yet. That could get a little confusing sometimes for a new user. Alright, now here we want to select the edges. But What's interesting here, once a face is filleted, or an edge on a face is filleted, if you select the whole face, it will just fillet what's available to fillet, i.e. this edge. So it is easier sometimes to select the face. Go ahead and try it. And notice it puts that big fillet right there, and this one is unaffected because it already has a fillet. It's been trumped by the earlier fillet. Now, let's use our, what I call the Superman X-ray vision to get the one on the inside. Rather than rotating, which you can do if you like, go ahead and hover over this until you find that orange edge, which is, it's seen through, it's like X-ray, seen through, to select that edge on the other side. Go ahead and hit the green check. And so now we have those larger fillets there. Now, this is all you have to do for this exercise. I just really wanted you to carry out what you see here. Now, what I'm going to show you next are some advanced functions, and it's going to make it look like what you saw earlier when we see, I'll go window, and we'll tile horizontally. What the heck? And let's get rid of that one. That was an accident. And we could go to window, we could tile vertically if you want. There we can see them better. This is our goal, to create something that looks similar to that. You can see there's a lot of complexities. It really is actually pretty easy to do. And so we'll see how that's all done on this. So let's begin. First of all, maximize this, and let's select this face right here and start a sketch. I'm going to show you the rib tool. The rib tool I would consider a more advanced tool. So normally you won't see this in an intro class, but let's have some fun. Click on your space bar and then go to the top, or Control 5. Now find the spline tool. Now if you're worried, if you haven't really gotten good at clicking on things, just use a line for this next thing, because that's a lot easier. I'm going to use the spline. Now the spline is a freeform tool. Get to this quadrant right here, and you see that little point up here. Click. Now get it up about almost straight up. Well, we could go straight up right in the middle here, roundabouts. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just have a little fun with it. Click. And now get this in to that edge right about there, not all the way to the outside, just right about where my pointer, that third ring that's showing up. Click. So we're giving a little bit of a bow to this. So now hit escape after that, and you should have this, what looks like an arc, but it's actually a spline. It's not continuous if you were to measure it. All right, now that we have that, let's go ahead and you can see you can click on this point and reduce the bow if you want. Stay away from those little arrows. Those will give you some weird things, and it might not work with what we're about to do. All right, now that you have that, we could rotate a little bit. Let's go to Features and find Rib. When you click on the Rib tool, you can see it's going to the right, so you have to click here and normal to sketch. So then it's going to go down. Now you normally don't want to go up with the rib because it has to have a place where it ends. So that's why I drew it up top here, and it's going to go downward. Now here's the wall thickness for the rib. We could add draft while we have it on there, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to add draft. I don't want it too complex. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the green check, and you'll see it will put in the rib as you see it there. And you could click off of it, and we've just added that. Now let's mirror that to the other side. Select the rib. Now we've seen how to mirror sketches which were 2D, and does anyone remember what the geometry you mirror across was? What was it in 2D? It wasn't a line, it was a center line, dashed line, okay? Now when you're doing it in 3D, a 3D, like in this case this looks like a fin or a vein. What do we use? We haven't learned that yet. This is what you do. Hold Control and select the top plane. You actually use planes or flat faces of other geometry to mirror across. Now our top plane, by holding Control, we have both the rib and the top plane selected for us in advance. And you can see the top plane runs right through the center of our part. So it will mirror across that, just like a pane of glass with the mirror. It would mirror across it. You'd see through it. So it's kind of cool. All right, just click on Mirror. And you'll see a preview down below right there. Sorry about the zooming. I'm getting a little carried away there. Hit the green check. And so now we have it on both sides. Now we're going to go ahead and pattern this. So let's Hold Control and select the rib and the mirror because we want both of those to be patterned in a circular array of sorts. Now underneath linear pattern, hit the little arrow and find circular pattern. Okay, the first thing we need, we could click on the outside of the wheel. And mine's going to equal spacing, 360 degrees, and I have 15 instances. Go ahead and just make sure equal spacing selected, 360 degrees, should automatically pop in, and set it to 15. Don't set it beyond 15, it might be too much for it to handle and it might choke. It might just take a long time and then give you an error message saying I can't do it, because when they intersect each other, that's very complex. Alright, so there we have our veins. Now, let's put some fillets on here. Go to the Fillet Tool. Alright, and set the fillet, the radius, to 0.04. And select this face right here. And just sit back and wait. It's going to try and fillet the entire topology. It takes a minute. There it goes. Hit the green check. Okay. Alright, now let's rotate around the other side. I keep zooming up, sorry about that. And let's do the same thing. Could we have done them both? Yes. It would have been slower though. I'm not sure if it's exponentially slower, but I just do one at a time. So click on that face there. And just wait. My computer is a Xeon from 2014, so it's kind of old. Yours might do it a lot faster on a newer computer. Or if you're on a laptop with a very slow processor, it might take longer, so just give it some time. Okay, now go to Fillet, and let's set it to something smaller now, 0.03. And try selecting this face here. Now this one's going to take even longer. There we go. Just do one at a time. Don't get carried away trying to get the other one done. I actually saw where it failed the second one I tried to do when I tried to do them all together. Rotate around. Let's get this side. Sometimes students ask, could you mirror this? You can try. Sometimes mirroring surprises me. Other times I won't even try because I just suspect it's not going to do it. In this case, my suspicion is that it won't mirror it easily. So just easy, just put it in. Alright, so now we have those filleted. Looks really complex now. And what you're making here is a pretty impressive portfolio piece. Now we're going to put in those cutouts. So to do that, let's hit our space bar, go to front, select the front plane, start a sketch. Okay, now we could go over here to wireframe and we can see the insides. Go to the circle tool and right here on this center point, click and drag on a nice size circle. And let's go to Smart Dimension and make it 1.5. Now go to the circle tool again, and right up here, well actually this is where our rib is. Don't get the midpoint of that and stay away, like kind of get it close to where I am at, if you could eyeball that. And I'm not liking exactly where mine is. In fact, it's probably too far, but that's okay. We'll add a dimension. Select this point to this edge. And let's see what 1 inch does. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, if yours gives you an error and it says it can't do it, delete your circle and just redraw it. Make sure it doesn't lock into anything other than an edge. All right, and then we'll make this 1 inch in diameter. All right, now we're going to make a little interesting feature down in here. What I'd like you to do is find the straight slot tool. Actually, you could do center point straight slot. And right here, see this looks like kind of like a pyramid type thing. Try and get, actually, yeah, the midpoint. That we do want the midpoint if you can find that. Click, drag this straight down about 0.25, or actually straight up about 0.25. 0.3 is good. Click, drag that out just like so. Click, and let's dimension that. And we're going to make that diameter let's see, 0.16 actually. I like that one. And then you could click on the center line and give it a dimension of 0.6. All right. Now we can mirror that stuff across. So go to Centerline, find Centerline there, and right at this point here, just click and drag it to the origin. Hit Escape. And now we're going to hold Control, hit Escape, and then select this, hold Control. You know what? We're going to have to group select, just like that. Then hold Control and select the center line. And we have two center lines, so you know what? We might have an issue there. Let's just go to Mirror Entities. And it did it. Okay, cool. It must have ignored the vertical center line inside of the slot. Okay, now that we have that, let's draw one more center line. I should have drawn this one earlier, right off of the origin. Drag it straight up, hit Escape, click on that center line. Now let's go to Features. And before we go to Revolve, let's turn it back to Shaded. And if you want, you could rotate. See, we can see our geometry there. Oh, it's going to notch out this. I don't like that. Yeah, that's too deep. Let's see here. Double click on this. Let's make it... Oh, not that one. Sorry. Double click on this. Make it 0.1. Let's see if that makes it smaller. Nah, it's still not what I like. 0.05. Anyhow, we'll probably go even lower than that. 0.04, so it doesn't touch the edge. There we go. And you'll see how to make a cutout slot. That's cool. All right. Now select this center line. Go to Revolve. And again, don't panic. I'm going through it rather fast. This is just for fun, this part. And if you want to just rewind and see how it's done, you can. Okay, now I'm going to go to Revolve Cut. Now Cut is to remove material. Go ahead and hit the green check mark when you're done. Okay, now look what it did. It cut in that little slot there. It cut out all this geometry, which, holy wow, that looks complex now, doesn't it? Let's go to Fillet. And let's set it to 0.025. And select this face here. Give it some time. And it's filleting everything. Hit the green check. Now that's some significant modeling computation going on there. Okay, now these, if you go ahead and select these faces holding Control, I think my keyboard just went out. Hold on. No, there we go. Okay. Now, adding a fillet to these really looks amazing, especially during the render. There is a tool inside the photo renderer, if you have it, that will automatically like put a little tiny fillet on edges like this. But I'm not going to show it to you just yet. And then we could select this. You can even select that edge. Let's go to Fillet. And it should remember the 0.025, which is good. It's thinking. I probably should have saved it. That would have been a good idea, just in case it crashes, especially when you're doing complexities like this. Okay, there we go. And if you want, you could get the other side. But let's give it a minute. There it is. All right, very, very impressive looking piece. As you can see there. I didn't fill out the bottom ones. But now let's take a look at rendering this. Like, we can go ahead, select the model, go over here to this tool, and let's go to glass, and let's go to thick gloss, and just double click. That will make that glass. Now we could select individual faces if we want, or we could select like this face right here. This one would be really cool to add color to, as well as, oops, not the dimension. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to go back to the beach ball there. And for this one, I've been tinkering with this car. I like cars, so these are pretty cool. Like, I'll try candy apple red, double click. And actually, maybe this one would look cool too. Let's add that. Now what we could do, I showed you some other tricks last time where you right click on the surface. You could copy the appearance and then click where you want it and paste the appearance. Oh, it didn't do it. Okay, that's good. Let's just do that again. It says it's there. Okay, that's strange. All right, now let's hit the space bar, go to isometric, and if you go here to view settings, go to perspective. Now, perspective gives a vanishing point, and be aware also that you might not have this rendering tool. So under SolidWorks add-ins, if you have Photoview 360, you have it. You have to have SolidWorks Premium in order to do that. If it's not there, you probably just have the core product. So anyhow, it still looks neat even like that. Let's go to Integrated Preview. So I hit the Renders Tool tab. Give it time. The more cores you have, or threads on your computer, as I described before, the faster this renders. And as you can see there, with the glass effect, that takes longer. It's much more intensive. We could do a Control-Alt-Delete here to see the keyboard. I have to change my battery. If I go to Performance, we're using all 16 threads. You can see they're all at 100%. Memory's not too bad, 7.9 out of 32 gigabytes. It's not too shabby. It's 25% in memory. Disk, GPU, next to nothing. Now I could actually hear my fans speeding up. And now you have this amazing rendering that would just look fantastic in someone's portfolio. So that concludes this exercise. Now, those of you who are taking my class, there are the two labs. So there's the bolt. This IMT 103, that is not necessary for my students to do. It's just if you want to challenge yourself, you can try that one out. And then there's the quiz 1. And so if you want to give those a shot right now, go ahead, pause my video. I am going to go through how those are created though right now. Okay, so as we can see here, we have a 1.7 diameter shaft. Overall, the bolt is 2 inches. And then we have some 0.1 parameters. The diameter is 0.5 for the shaft. And the top is 1 inch, and it has a dome on the top. So let's go ahead and see how that one's done. All right, so I'm going to save my exercise there. I'm going to go to New, my ANSI inch, or you could use part, whichever you prefer. I'm going to select the front plane, start a sketch, and I'm going to do that bolt. So for the bolt, we can do it a couple ways. We could go out here about 0.25, and then I think it was 1.7, and that comes out a little bit, another 0.25-ish. Let me zoom up here. And then about 0.1 high, and then across. We could infer to the origin. Now you're wondering, like, wait, what about the head of the bolt? I'll show you a cool little trick for that. Okay, my keyboard battery's going bad. I got to change that. All right, so now we don't need a center line necessarily here, But if you want to get that little dimension, like I was showing you, like this, where we get, go to Smart Dimension between this. Now, just to show you, if I don't select this outer line, this is what I get. I can't get the diameter. So I'm going to delete that. But here, if I select this and then the center line, oh, I selected the point. Let's try that again. There we go. There, I could get the actual diameter. Oh, darn. Okay, if I get this where it's, I'm going to put 0.25, but watch this. You have another option here. Under liters, you could display as diameter. So there's a couple ways you could do that. And we'll put the diameter symbol in just for fun. Okay, this, the head of the bolt should be a 1-inch diameter. So as you can see, we're using all the tools that we've tinkered with. Let's go back and take a look at that document. Okay, we're at, yeah, it is 1.7. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, hit escape, 1.7. And then this might happen to you. If that happens, hit escape. My escape key is no longer working because my keyboard's dead. All right, now we could go over here, put this one in as 0.1. I'm not going to be able to do it here. Instead, you can use this little guy here. Since I have no battery power left. That's all right. Let's just leave it like that. Okay, so now I go to Features, Revolve Boss Base, hit the green check. Now you know to put the right dimension in. That should be 0.1. Now select this face, and here's a neat little tool, very unique to SolidWorks. Insert, Features. Now we're using the pull-down menu, and if you're on the pull-down menu, you have to, if it's not showing up, it has to be tacked in. Like it normally looks like that. Oops. But see this little arrow? If you click on that, you get the pull down. I always tack it in. All right, so where was I? Insert, Features, and notice there's no dome icon that was out there, so it's not all that commonly used. Now you have an elliptical dome you could use, and it looks like we're getting some weird phenomenon there. Or non-elliptical, hit the green check, and you could see we've got the dome. And actually, let's edit the feature. I believe that needs to be a bit higher, probably 0.2 if I'm correct with my math. All right, so that's how you can put a dome on. Otherwise, you just draw an arc across in the sketch and make sure that the back line goes up 2 inches. Now to make that little cutout, because my keyboard's dead and I don't want to stop the video, I'm just going to go to Sketch, and we'll go over here to the front view orientation. I'm going to draw a center line. So the cutout for the screwdriver head needs to look like this. It's going to be a line. Get on this edge. Get it down there. Get it on this edge here. Double click to end that line chain. Now, I'm going to turn off the line because I want to mirror this. So I'm going to click and drag a fence around that. And you can put the dimensions in according to what you see in the print. But I'm going to go over here to mirror entities, and now I have my little slot, or it appears. Now we're going to cut that. So we go to Features, Extrude Cut, and we're going to go through all, both. And now this arrow ensures that if you flip it, it's going to cut everything inside. Otherwise, if it's outside, you have to flip the arrow. So you see flip side to cuts right there. Hit the green check, and there's our cutout. Now to get the thread and the chamfer, you just select this edge and go to chamfer. And again, because mine is dead, I can't put in, oops. Let's just go with the 0.9, because my keyboard's dead. Now this, you could actually, there's a couple things you could do. You could actually add the thread through the appearances. If you go to miscellaneous, I believe, or let's see here, pattern, and there's screw thread. And normally you could go in there and edit it. There's a little arrow that allows you to change it. You pull it, but again, my keyboard's dead. My apologies. All right, and that's just a cosmetic thread. Why cosmetic thread? Well, cosmetic threads are much more stable. They're much more less intensive on the computer. If you use there is a thread tool. There's actually 3 ways to make a thread, a real true thread. There's a new thread tool that came out about a year ago, and it's in there. I'm not going to go through it in this exercise. Look it up if you like. And it's really cool. It's really easy. It has standard threads in it, and it will actually make a real thread. But be aware, you don't always want real threads unless it's for the purpose of actually manufacturing that bolt. If it's just an off-the-shelf component, use this. You don't even have to do this, but you can use cosmetic thread. Because otherwise, if you have a million bolts with those threads, the threads are so complex, it's going to slow your computer down. You saw how long it took to fillet when we were trying to put fillets in. Imagine that works the same way when you have tons of threads for a million bolts. So just be careful how you use it. And now let's take a look at the quiz. Now I don't want you to watch the quiz when you do this, but I'm going to give some pointers on how to do it. So the quiz, as we can see, let's go to, I'm not going to show you how to do that part there. All right, we have a 6 by 3 by 1 inch thick and a 0.75 thick boss and 4 holes. I'm just going to show you the very basics, and one reason why is because I want you to do it on your own. Start a sketch on the top plane. This is one of those instances where that will work. Go to the rectangle tool, and I'm not putting the dimensions in, but you need to put the dimensions in, those of you who are in my class. Right? And I'm going to go ahead and put one of the circles there. I'm going to use the mirror tool. And remember, for the mirror tool, we need to have center lines. Ah, my keyboard worked. All right, now I'm just going to click that. And keyboard's working for a moment here, but still I'm just showing you some strategies. So we want to mirror that across. So we're going to mirror entities. Now we could click on these, get those 2 selected, hold Control, select that, mirror entities. I don't like to put the circle in right away because then you end up having to cut it twice. So I don't need to do it that way. So go to extrude. Again, make sure you put the dimensions in according to the book. You could use a little handle here. This needs to be 1 inch thick. Hit the green check. Now select this face, start a sketch, draw at the center, draw your boss, and again make sure your dimensions are correct. Go to features, extrude boss. This boss is only 0.75 in height. Hit the green check. Now select this face, start a sketch, draw the hole that goes through. Go to features, extrude cut, and through all. Hit the green check. You will be required in my class, when I grade your quiz, the dimensions have to be correct, or else it's a point off for each incorrect dimension. Go to fillet, and the fillet is 0.25, and it should be on the 4 edges. And you want to do the fillets first, and then the chamfers. This gets filleted here too. And now go to chamfer. Someone said, oh, it sounds like you're saying chamfer, SH. And yeah, that's just the way I pronounce it. You say tomato, I say tomato. Chamfer, if you want to call it that, that sounds awkward to me. I've been using this CAD softwares for 25 years, actually 30 plus years. I always call it a chamfer, so that's what you like. Okay, now the chamfer. And my keyboard's dead again. Ah. Oops. We got to get it down to a number that will work. Select one edge. It should go all the way around. And those dimensions are all on the print. Make sure you get those. And that concludes the quiz. What you do for me, you're going to go to File and go to Save As and save me a PDF. Adobe PDF. And just send that to me. Don't send me the model. And that concludes this exercise. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.